Good morning, it's Lori from Simple Delights Bakery, and it's a cold, chilly, snowy as I'm looking out the window Friday morning, and so I thought I would talk about sourdough and make my sourdough bread. It's a good morning to get my kitchen nice and cozy, and I cannot believe here it is April 16th and we're getting snow. And it's snowing pretty darn hard out that window, so I'm not very thrilled about that. So anyway, I'm going to talk about all things sourdough. I'm a huge sourdough fan. I usually use my sourdough, gosh, at least once a week, if not a couple times a week, for personal use and also for my bakery. So I'm making sourdough bread this morning. I'm also gonna, if time allows, I am also going to make my sourdough pizza dough to get going because it's Friday night and I make sourdough pizza. So first I'm going to talk about my sourdough starter. I have a big jar of sourdough starter because I go through a lot of it. So I'm going to lift this up and don't, so you see that clear part? That means that my sourdough starter is hungry. So most people discard that. I do not anymore. I used to. I actually stir it right back into my starter, and because it's just gives it that extra tang, and it's just wonderful. So big thing about sourdough starters, which I may start a class on this alone, just on the starter, because people tend to shy away from sourdough starters, and they're actually very not only healthy for you, but they're just super easy once you learn. So always use a glass jar. I happen to be lucky and I have a large glass jar. You can use either a lid or cheesecloth, an elastic band or a string or something to tie it off. I have changed over to a lid. When I use cheesecloth, it tends to attract those little teeny tiny fruit fly thingies, which I hate. So I've gone to a lid. I just don't put my lid on tight, I put it on loose. So I'm going to first start wooden spoon, important. I know it's not really a spoon, it's kind of like a spatula spoon, but I love this spoon because it's got a nice long handle, so it's awesome. So wooden and glass is very important. Don't use metal in your sourdough, it will react badly. So I'm going to stir in my starving sourdough into the old sourdough first. This is my first step. This is what I do every single day, or every other day, depending upon how hungry it is. And when I say hungry, it's the natural yeasts in the flour that interact with the water and just create a lovely sourdough. So, that aroma, if you could smell it. So it's quite tangy, which is nice. That's what you want. And so I stirred that in, and now I'm going to actually feed it before I make my sourdough. So I feed it probably about a half a cup of flour, because this is a big jar, every day. And then I feed it exactly a half a cup of warm water every day. And then I stir it again. And then I put the lid on loosely, and there you go. So someday soon I'm going to run a class, I believe, a short class. It'll probably take less than 20 minutes to show you how to actually start your own sourdough, and mentioning the different ways of using your sourdough. So I'm going to stir all that in, and I am going to end up with, it's okay if it's lumpy. It's not a big deal if it's lumpy. I need something to put my messy spoon on here. And so there is my sourdough. And because my jar is so full, hence why I'm making sourdough this morning. But first, coffee. Oh, that tastes so yummy. So, for my sourdough, I need a cup of sourdough starter, and then I need 1.5 cups of lukewarm water. So I have 1.5 cups of lukewarm water here, and I put that into the bowl. And then I need, and this recipe will make 2 loaves actually, and a cup of starter. messy starter. And put that in. Measuring cup. And I have to wipe down my jar because I made a huge mess when I poured it out. And I'm going to put the lid back on that for right now because I'm not going to need that. And then I need some salt. So I only use sea salt in this house, so I have a very large jar of salt. And then I need some yeast. Yes, I do add yeast to my sourdough. You can, if you're super daring, try it without yeast. I hate wasting because if it doesn't rise, then you have a big globby mess that you can't save. And then flour. So with flour, you should always level it off. So this is going to take a bunch of flour. Because again, like I said, this recipe makes 2 loaves. And then it's going to get a little noisy, so I apologize for the noise. Because I have to turn this mixer on. You can also do this by hand. I just love my mixer, so I use it all the time. Love, love, love. I actually have 2 of these exact things, same things. I just love this mixer. I think this mixer's got to be close to 34 years old. It's getting up there in age. And so if your sourdough mix seems like it's a little dry, you can take and just add a little lukewarm water as it's mixing. And that's just something you'll learn as you see it start to pull away from the sides of the bowl. It's something that kind of hard to teach unless you're in person with me. And we'll let that mix up a little bit. And now, because I added more water, now I need a little more flour because it's not pulling away as much as I like. And I add it in very scant amounts, little bit at a time. So you don't want to overdo it on the flour either. And let all this mix in. That might be good. So every time I make bread, it's a little bit different because it all depends on the humidity and the temperature of your kitchen that you're working in, the room you're working in, but even the humidity outside makes a big difference. So I'm going to let this mix for just another minute, and it's pulling away beautifully from the sides of the bowl. I almost let it pull away till the sides of the bowl are almost clean, believe it or not. That's a big indicator. So I'm going to shut this off for a minute and just kind of touch my sourdough. It's a little sticky. I am going to add just a little more flour. Some doughs you want sticky. This dough I don't want super sticky. And as you can hear, the mixer starts picking up a little bit and it's on the lowest speed. When I add the extra little bit of flour because it's not struggling so much. Okay. So this is my sourdough, and it's quite heavy, so I can't let the mixture soak. I sprinkle, if you're wondering what I'm doing. This keeps my hands from sticking so much to the dough when I'm working with it and taking it off the hook. I mean, it's still gonna stick, but not as much. Your hands won't be quite as messy. But now my machine will hold up by its own because I've got it all off the hook. And of course, I need to add some more flour to my fingers because I'm quite stiff right now. So we're going to just do this, add some flour to my hands, just for the purpose of, so you can see. So I have this beautiful soft dough that's just amazingly, I just love dough. I love to play with dough. I just love dough. I always, even when I was a kid in kindergarten, remember back in the day when they used to give you the boards and you'd get that gray clay that you could play with? I used to love playing with the clay. It was one of my favorite parts of kindergarten. And then I put it in my dough bucket, just like that. And then I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to let it rise for a couple hours because my kitchen is quite cold right now, in a warm spot, so that'll probably be closest to my oven. So I love my dough buckets. I use these constantly. I have many of them. And that is sourdough. So that will rise for about 2 hours. Then I'll punch it down. I will form it into 2 loaves of bread. I will let it rise again for probably like another hour, hour and a half. And then I will have my brick in my oven warming up while the second rise is happening. So my brick gets nice and hot. And then I'm going to take my pizza paddle and slide my doughs off and put them in the brick and let them bake at a high temp with some steam so they get a nice crust. Sometimes I do it without steam because I like a soft crust some days, and some days I like a harder crust. Today it's a hard crust day. And so that is my sourdough. I'm going to start making my pizza dough next. I'm not going to even bother washing out my bowl because it's the exact same ingredients. And let my pizza dough rise for tonight's dinner. And other than that, my hands are quite messy right now, and I really, really hope you have a fantastic Friday. Please share. I appreciate if you share. If you're interested in any baked goods, please get a hold of me. You can either go on my website, you can message me on Facebook or Instagram, or call me, and have a fabulous Friday. Hope to talk to you later on this weekend. Bye. Cheers.